What up YouTube, it's your boy DT from BLEdatTV, and that little opening sequence was of the Switch Pod, the little handheld thing I'm using now with my camera that I've had for like 5 months. I've been meaning to shoot a video on it. I'm sorry, I just haven't. And there's probably 100 videos out there by now, but if you still want to see my take on it, let me know in the comments below. But we have a new package in the mail today. So we're gonna go upstairs. We're gonna go check out what we got. I'm so excited right now because I'm actually going mobile here, and I got some new lights coming today that actually have just arrived, as you can see, if I can get my hand right there. Right there. Yeah, there we go. So anyway, let's get these bad boys downstairs and open them up. What up YouTube, it's your boy DT from BLEdatTV, and today I have for you version 3 of the Yongnuo YN360. As updates go, this light is indeed brighter than version 1 and the colors are richer. Don't ask me about version 2 because I skipped that like Microsoft skipped Windows 9. I don't know what they were thinking, not having a removable battery, and they changed it to some weird tube shape. So do yourself a favor. Don't get version 2, just either get version 1 or version 3 that I'm about to tell you about right now. So version 3 returns to the tried and true design of version 1 with a couple tricks up its sleeve, such as a detachable remote now that works up to 15 meters away. Also, when you're in daylight mode on this light, you can slide your thumb up one side smoothly to increase the intensity, or if you're in tungsten mode, the other side allows you to smoothly increase the intensity. And also, as you can see, this is rainbow colors on that touchpad, so that means that when you're in RGB mode, you can smoothly transition your colors from one color to the next using this touchpad. It is really, really slick, and I enjoy it quite a bit. Now, one little thing that I did notice with this touchpad is that sometimes I find it's a little too touchy for my taste. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd rather have something very responsive than not, but I find myself often changing my settings or the intensity or the color or whatever by accident just by picking this thing up and wanting to move it somewhere, or not even just your hand touching it, but in my little playing around with this light, just laying it face up on a table. If the controller is installed on the back and you just happen to move the light just a little bit, that can also change your settings. So it's something to keep in mind when you're handling this light and you have your settings dialed in just the way you want it. Beware of that. And also, Yongnuo gave you a nice little tool to help avoid making those changes. By simply pressing the middle button in between all the arrows and holding it for a few seconds, it actually locks the controls so that your touchpad doesn't change anything. And then, of course, to unlock it, you just press and hold the same button for a few more seconds and you're ready to make changes again. Other than that, I do find that having a wireless remote like this for the YN360 is a very nice addition compared to version 1, where you always have to get up and go to the light, like the one behind me here, and make changes on the light itself. Wireless, lovely. And also the interface on this controller is very easy to navigate, which is also cool. And you also have a channel button, something you didn't have on version 1. So now to change the operating channel of this light, if you have other lights that are on channels that you need to avoid, just put the controller in the back of the light, press the channel button, the light and the controller are synced, you're ready to make changes to your heart's content. And you have 8 banks or channels that you can switch to so that you can avoid interfering with other lights that you may have set up. Giving your center button a quick click will allow you to adjust how fast or slow you want to increase or decrease the intensity of your light, no matter what mode you're in, whether that's RGB, tungsten, or daylight. The YN360 also has another trick up its sleeve, and that's when you long press the channel button. You get access to some pre-programmed lighting effects that may come in handy for your filmmaking, such as a flickering TV, candle lighting, or even police lights. But there's like 9 or 10 different effects that you can use there. I will say with one caveat though, that in RGB mode, I don't believe that these lights are very bright. And so in this scene of me and my terrible acting as you're watching, where I've got the police lights lighting me up and lighting up my garage, I had to move those lights considerably closer than I originally thought to get that effect. And the other thing is that I feel like some of these effects that they give you in the lights are a bit mechanical, But I can't complain too much because for the price of what you're paying for the light, I don't think you can ask for too much more. It already is a pretty good value for what you're getting. So in order to make those lights believable in my little fake scene that you're watching, I have two YN360s and I've set them both to the police light setting, but I also tried to time it so that as one was firing, the other one was getting ready to, so that way it wouldn't look so mechanical. So there's ways that you can work around it. The Mark III also brings a couple other nice updates that I really like, in that it moved the DC connection to the side of the light, which I think is a little more streamlined than version 1, where it had it right here in the middle on the front of the face. And also on the other side, it now has a refreshed 3-position switch versus the little knobby thing that was on the back of version 1. So with this 3-position switch, you have off, or if you have it in the first position, that means you're powering it using a DC adapter, or if you have it in the second position, that's where you can use it with the very familiar Sony NPF style batteries. And also when you're running this light for extended periods of time, the instructions say that you'll want to remove this tungsten sheath so that you can leave these vents that are on the back of the Mark III open to let any heat dissipate that may build up inside of the light. Which also reminds me of another thing that I didn't really care for. Very minor, very, very nitpicky right now, but that's where I think that version 1 of this light has version 3 beat, and that these sheaths on version 3, at first they're a little stiff and hard to remove. I mean, they're on there pretty good, and so when you're pulling it, it feels like you're almost having to force it off the light, and it has enough grip that I've noticed where there's been tiny, very minor scratches left on the casing of the light. Now, is that gonna affect how the light operates? I highly doubt it. Over time, I highly doubt it. But again, it's just one of those things where I really like to take care of my gear and keep it in as mint condition as possible. Maybe I'm in the wrong line of business, but I just feel like I don't want to have gear that damages itself every time I use it the way that it was intended to be used. You know, that to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So perhaps maybe there's a way to rethink how this goes on there. I mean, shoot, make it work like version 1. But you can kind of see how the difference is, and you can see in my little macro shot those tiny scratches that I'm talking about. But again, not a big deal, but it's just one of those things that I just kind of took notice of. And anyway, I'm still really happy with this light. Now going back to power for just a second, the DC adapters do not ship with the YN360 Mark IIIs, so you're going to want to make sure that you have some NPF style batteries on hand, or order the adapters when you order the lights. Links below for both of those power solutions. If you don't want to use the wireless controller that comes with the light, or perhaps let's say you're in the middle of a shoot and this thing tanks out on you because the battery died, yes, there is a removable battery in the back of this remote control, then Yongnuo gives you a nice workaround in that there's an app for iPhone as well as for Android, and you can do everything you need to do even in that app. And the nice thing is, if you have a Mark III like what I have in front of me and a Mark I, then in the app you can switch between which version you're trying to control. Now I will say this has been a bit finicky for me in my tests of playing with it and whatnot, because I've been standing right next to the Mark III trying to connect to it in the app, and for whatever reason, it still wants to connect to the Mark I, which is halfway across the room. So Yongnuo, if you could clean that up a little bit, that would be awesome. The other thing that I noticed, having two of these Mark III versions, I was able to easily switch the channels and everything and which light I was controlling when I was in the app on the mode for daylight versus tungsten. But when I go to RGB mode, I don't have an option to select which channel I'm trying to control in the app. So therefore, I was only able to control one of these lights. So that's another update that I would like to see to the app, is on both modes in the app, RGB or for tungsten and daylight, I can select which channel I'm trying to control, so that way it gives me more control over the lights that I have. I feel like there were a couple opportunities missed with this light here that would have been really nice additions had Yongnuo implemented them. And that is, you've got a Sony style battery mount here, right? And then right here, you have a DC power connection, right? See where I'm going with this? So while you can run the light off of a Sony style battery, it would be really nice if, while you have that battery in, and if you have a DC connector plugged in, that it would also charge the battery for you. I think that would also add to the value of this light as well. And the other nice thing is with this nice new readout on the wireless remote control, I don't see any reason why we can't have a readout of what the color temperature is at any given time on this light, especially since it lets you turn on both tungsten and daylight bulbs in this light at the same time. So that would be really nice to know if I'm sitting at 4700 Kelvin or if I'm sitting at 35 or 48.9. Just something that kind of gives me a guesstimation, an approximation of where I'm at, so that if I need to match other lights to it on my set, I can. So right now I'm having to eyeball it because I don't have a light meter to measure these things. But anyway, those are the couple of things that I would like to see. And I think if they come out with the next version, that I will be picking those up if they have those features. BLEdat. So that's my time for today, guys. Subscribe and like, all that good stuff. If you're Yongnuo, feel free to embed my video on your website. Shameless plug there. Links below to the YN360 Mark III, along with any other accessories I've mentioned today. And as you already know, I really don't have a saying for this channel, so... Well, hello there, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we'll be discussing the YN360 Mark III, made by a company called Yongnuo. Yes, I've been working on my curls. That was terrible.